Abby, welcome. We turn it over to you. And again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here and introduce my book. I wrote this memoir. It's about 6 months ago. I and got published. Now it's on Amazon. I think I will read the chapter 1 of the book, and which is opening about my life after during the Cultural Revolution. If you allowed me, I will start at chapter 1. There is a couple of terms needed to explain, like long town, and that is an alley in Shanghai. It's a basic residential structure in Shanghai by the 60s, 40 to 60. It's like I travel a lot, but I never see it's a popular structure. But I think I saw this in Rome. It's like people live in those alley and they communicate as very close neighbors. So I will start this, and you will listen and understand when I go along. Okay, chapter 1. One hot summer night. It was a sultry summer evening. The sky shone blue with a light haze, typical for June in Shanghai. Families gathering in the long town as the sun sank slowly behind the endless red roofs of the tenements. Behind wide boulevards, a maze of winding lanes and alleys were interconnected, serving as the social connection to the beaten hearts of the city. People were gossiping, playing cards, or just watching. The street were humming with the sound of birds and cicadas, laughter and chatter. Kids were running around while the adults waiting for the cool breezes. The air soon hung heavy with the sweet, tangy soy smells of the roasted skin noodles. It was almost dinner time. The whole neighborhood was out. The weather-beaten wooden door was flung open. I was curled up in a bamboo recliner, reading a book outside of the old door of our stone gate home. A curved vine of wisteria hanging high from the tall wall, weeping with the wind. Shanghai, which means city on the sea, lays on the Yangtze River. The summer winds blew past the old door, bringing on cool evening pleasure. It was my favorite spot in which to read. My grandmother, having just taken her shower, sat next to me with a palm leaf fan in hand. My father was listening to his usual classic music, and my mother was doing her routine cleaning after dinner. Suddenly, a strong wind came from nowhere. I looked up the sky. It was turning dark, and the rain was approaching. I got up took my book, and was ready to move inside. Then I heard pop, 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 fast footsteps approaching from behind. Turning around, I was stunned to see about a dozen young men and women rushing to our front door, calling my father's name loudly and ignoring my grandmother. They running inside of our house. Immediately, they occupied our living room. I saw my father quickly turned off his record, then put on a set of formal clothes over his shirt before talking to them. I was too far away to hear what they are saying. I see my father's face held a mix of worry, surprise, and confusion. I ran upstairs to my bedroom and shut the door behind me. I was scared, but had no clue what would happen next. Later on, I learned those people who came to my house were from my father's company and were part of the so-called Red Guards. The Red Guards movement mobilized in 1966 by the supporter of Mao, Chairman Mao. They came to our house without a search warrant or any other legal authority. This sounds crazy today, but it was normal, everyday occurrence in China in the later half of 1966. I was 12 years old then. That night, I was curious and a little bit frightened. What were the intruders doing? Why they yell at my father? With questions storming through my head, I was called to go outside by the Red Guards. It was humid and warm after a summer shower. The air was still. About 40 people stood outside. Many of them were good neighbors and my playmates. I saw my father and my mother standing in the center with their head lowered. They looked nervous but calm and did not say anything to me. I saw their worries towards me. We had not spoken to each other since the intruders came. The leader was a young man standing in the center of the crowd. He was agitated and yelled at the top of his lungs, saying that my father was a capitalist, so he was a bad person, and much more besides. Nobody in the audience said anything. When the rally finished, the crowd dispersed and everyone went home. My parents looked very tired. Dad walked with me back home, whispering in my ear, "I'm sorry, baby. Your father did something wrong." He looked confused and scared. I did not say anything. These Red Guards posted several large pieces of white paper on our black front door. They had written in black ink brush pen with large size characters that says my father was bloodsucker and a capitalist. That night, I was too nervous and exhausted to sleep, waiting for my mother to come to my bedroom, but she never showed up. I left my small bronze fan on and eventually fell asleep without knowing what time that was. When I woke up the next morning, my parents were still downstairs, and the Red Guards were there whole night as well. They had dug out our courtyard flower bed looking for gold. I was told they searching tirelessly for the family money whole night. I look around my house. All the drawers were open. Papers and clothes were all over on the floor. I was shocked. I bit my tongue, but it hurts. I was not in a dream. Okay, that's the part of chapter 1. That tells what happened when the Cultural Revolution started. And the next day, um, the Red Guards was took me outside by myself without my parents, and they told me a shocking story, and they told me I was adopted. So I didn't believe them, but the purpose to tell me the story was they want me tell them where my parents the gold to hide. I have no idea. Um, so the memo, the story goes on, and then I think I should tell you why I decided to write this memo. It's a painful, very painful memory for the Cultural Revolution, because a lot of people got suicide because they're beaten by the Red Guards. My family wasn't the worst, but many people, they don't have the guts to touch that part of the history because the painful memory. Now, see why I decided to write it. Um, I I like to travel. I travel a lot, especially to Europe, and I see a lot of Jewish museums in Europe. And when I go vacation, I don't really want to visit the Jewish museum because they make me feel sad. But as a matter of fact, I after I visit a couple of, and I think I got touched. I will. The first thing came to my mouth is I hope the things never happen again. So I was thinking of the Cultural Revolution as the same as the sad story of the Jewish history. I want to set up a museum and educate people, especially young people, and make this never happen again. That's the purpose. However, I went back to China. I talked to my classmates and my friends, and they all shook their hand. They said, Abby, it never happened. You are crazy. The government, the communist government, will never allow this to be set up, even in New York. They will not allow you to do anything, to ship anything out. So I think they are right. So I give up that. But then the Cultural Revolution story always in my head. I want to tell people, and there's so little books on the market talking about this. I think one of the reason is my generation. We experienced the most, and we didn't go to school. Since 1966, the college closed for 10 years. And after the 10 years, when the college reopened, and many people, they couldn't pass the national college exam to enter the college. And so they didn't get a good education, especially in English. And there are many articles, people written in Chinese, but it doesn't help the world to understand the Cultural Revolution. So I decided to write. I know English is my second language, but I decided to write in English because I want more people to read the story. I had a friend suggest me to hire somebody to write for me as ghost writer. But I think again, I think I can do it. But I do this slowly, just little by little. So during COVID, I started to write, and the COVID closed everything, but I was enjoy the time in writing during the lockdown time. I feel it's a healing. It's sad to review it, but I also feel it's bring me back to my childhood time. I feel I went back with my parents, with my uncle, with all the stories. It's a healing.
That's great.
Yeah. Um,
Abby, if I could jump in for a sec. I want to go back to something you said when you were in China that I think it was your father who was called a bloodsucker. What did they mean by that?
that is go back to, I think, Marxism. They are the philosophy. So if you are capitalism and you took the profit from the worker they made, and you take the profit, the money, so you are a blood sucker. You sucker the workers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's about the philosophy from Marxism, I think.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. You were talking, and if other people have questions, let me know, or comments at this point. You were talking about how, well, it was painful to go back. It was also healing. Could you talk a little more about, because it's an interesting mixture of two very different feelings. Talk a little more about how it was healing.
Okay, it's the story when I review, is my daughter and my son-in-law encouraged me to write down. So they all think I am very brave. It's like a scarf. It's like a hurting. It's Then I open the scar and see how painful that is. I have to write down my feeling and how hurt when my parents. I look at my parents. If you read my book, there's a lot of details. If you read the book, and you will see my father got cut the salary only a fracture. So we were very poor in money, and they took all the family saving, the bank account, and my mother and my grandmother's jewelry, and their fur coats, everything away. And also, we used to have 2 live-in servants in house, 1 man, 1 woman. The woman is doing basically the cleaning thing. The man does like a carpentry, and they dismissed them. So my grandmother was in her 70s. He had to do all the cleaning things, and which was very new for my grandmother. But when I was writing the story, I feel my heart, it went back to those times. I was a child. I was arguing with my grandmother. I was fighting with my father, like all the bad things as a kid. And so I feel it's my happy time. I feel I come back, I meet my parents again, and when you remember something, a lot of time in the memory, you always remember the happy time, and you try to forget about the sad time. And I that's what I mean is hearing. When I finished the book, because it's during COVID, COVID made me depressed. But when I finish the book, I feel positive. I feel the life is positive. I feel very comfortable because I wrote everything on the paper. I don't know if I explained this clearly.
No, I think you did. I think you did. I'm curious also, and then we'll let you move on unless other people have questions and comments. Memory is an interesting thing. Did you find, at least in my case, you can tell me for you, it's not linear. Certain things I've remembered for years and years, and then other times, something pops up, and I said, "Oh my God, I totally forgot about that." And memory kind of jumps around. And when I was young, my father died when I was young. I told my mother, "Oh, I remembered a day when you were dancing, he twirled you around," and she said, "That never happened." But it was a nice memory for me. But anyway, it's kind of like, so I'm wondering how your memory worked. Did you find it jumped around? Did you trust your memory? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's believe it or not, I memorize a lot of small things and the tiny mini things. Many people ask me, how did you remember all those things? I just remembered. I don't know why. And I think in my family, me and my younger brother, we have very good memory, and people always say that. For this, yeah, I don't know. Everything I wrote down is based on the truth. Is I just remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm from a family very Americanized, so a lot of the influence my uncle gave to me and my parents gave to me, and also helped me to handle the immigration culture shock, and I feel kind of familiar with. My uncle is from the medical school, the one of the best in China, is set up by John Stewart, the last ambassadors from United States. So my uncle and my aunt all graduate from that school. and they English is fluent. And so in the school, all the professor is from United States. They only use English as the official language. And then my uncle and also told me a lot of stories about her friends, her teacher, and also something is like the religion, like a Christian. And we were talking about religion when I was small. So when I moved to United States, I feel much more comfortable than my peers. And a lot of Chinese, they need to adjust more when they move to United States. They don't feel comfortable. But I think that part probably helped. Um,
Pleasure. Nice to
I,
be here. Abby, just wondering, your brother, did he stay in Shanghai? What happened with him?
yeah, I mentioned a little bit in the afterwards, and he went to countryside, was sent to the countryside. then after many years, the government set up a new policy. If my father retired, and then my brother can come to his factory as a worker. So my father is desperate, want the son to move back to Shanghai. So he was the chief engineer for the company. It's a company make printing machine. The bigger printing machine is like a print newspaper or print those. Yeah.
Right.
So he was in charge to the company, all the technical, the engineer project, but he doesn't care. The time the policy came, he just retired. He's already qualified time. So my brother moved to his company to work, and then he was very happy with this position. He until today, and he's still not fully retired. He loved and involved this work very happily. So that's him.
Good.
Thank you. I know you have a lot more to cover and more pictures to show us, so we'll let you move along.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Please bring the pictures, Julia. Okay, I have some older pictures. Will just show people the 40s. It's basically one is my parents' wedding picture. This styled wedding is continuing until I got married in 80s. Um, the shop still provide this style of the wedding pictures. They provide the wedding gown. This is my parents. Yeah, it's 1927. My father is very carefully marked all the dates. And the next one is my father was play Peking opera, and he's this hero in the army, is general, I think, and he loves to do that in the spare time. Yeah, okay. The top one was when I was in kindergarten. We performed in the elementary school. I was the second row, the first one and the second row from the left side. That was me. Yes. The lower picture It was my father reading at night in his new apartment. He reads a lot, and he enjoyed to read all the newspapers, books. This is he is in his 90s. He lived until 107 in Shanghai, and he exercises a lot, and also play Tai Chi in his lifetime. He used to have not a very good health, but after exercises, he lived until 107, which is approved. Okay. Yeah, the left side is my parents in the park in Shanghai. My mother always wear those Chinese styled dress, qipao. She has a lot of very expensive material. I saw it, the qipao. And the right one is my mother, I think in her 60s in my house. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the part 2 of your life?
Okay. For part 2, because we jumped out a lot of chapters, maybe I will explain some.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, Abby, hello. I know, you said you're giving up on having a museum like the Holocaust, the Cultural Museum. Do you think under this government, it would be impossible? Do you still have hopes that one day you'll be able to found a museum like the Holocaust for the Cultural Revolution?
I think it's so far it's worse than before. In the 80s, when I was in college, and we can speak about the government, the Communist Party, when we discuss in the class, we can speak out our mind. But now Xi Jinping, the government, and they are very control. They only allow, there's no internet allowed. They only allowed their internet, which has a name, and the people in China only can access their internet, not Google, no Facebook, no. So it's getting worse. It's
Wow.
very
I'm
tight.
sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, even they call Great Wall. That's a firewall. They to prevent the Chinese people to read the New York Times, Wall
Oh,
Street Journal. It has been like this maybe 20 years so far. Um, it's kind of very disappointing. I think the scholars try to understand why the economy goes that fast, but the political part is still well locked.
I hope you'll be able to do it someday until maybe the governments will change.
Yeah, I hope that too. It's Xi Jinping's government, unless this is a very dictator government. Yeah, it's not many arguments you can make. So yeah, so far.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Eleanor, too. Okay, Abby, we'll let you continue. Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about the part 2. Part 2 is all about the life I moved to the United States in New York, New Jersey. I have a lot of culture shock when I raise American daughter. I think the first one, the culture shock for me is she has a boyfriend. So in the middle school, the Chinese school won't allow it. It's going to be a big thing. But I allowed her to have a boyfriend in school. I think it's part of to be complete as a teenage. When I was in China, I had a boyfriend in high school, and my whole family was in alert. It's like the big thing. It's something going to happen. But in here, it's normal. So I allowed, and I'm happy she had a good time. And also another big culture shock is my daughter was a fencer. She fenced in national level. So her name frequently was on the newspaper of the Star Ledger. My neighbors all cutting newspaper for her and gave this to me. But if this happened in China, and the parents and the neighbors will only pay attention on academic. My daughter was good student and always is in the honor roll, but nobody care about that. For all those years, only one parent, one father. He is a Jewish father, and my daughter used to babysit for their children. So he is the only one congratulate me. And when my daughter was on dean list in Princeton, but all her friends, they will call my house and leave a nice, beautiful voicemail and just only mention the fencing. So this is my another culture shock. And the third one, I think I will read a little bit about when she entered Princeton. I read the newspaper of my next town. There is a girl got suicide in MIT. That is my another culture shock regarding to the privacy law. Okay, I will read a few pages, 2 or 3. Then we talk. Going to college was the first time my daughter left my radar. I was unsure if she would be okay away from my full-time watch. After her freshman class started, one Sunday morning, I was reading the local newspaper in the kitchen. As a new county resident, I learned so much from reading books and newspapers. Mary, so this is jumped from a lot of paragraph. So I have to explain this character, Mary, was my old neighbor, and she is a Christian and very kind, nice lady. And she gave me a lot of help when I just moved to New Jersey. So I said here, Mary had been my mentor and an excellent American culture counselor, because Mary always teach me what to do, what should I do, where to buy things, everything. But she was not with me anymore because I moved from the neighborhood to Melbourne, New Jersey. It's a different town. When I'm reading the newspaper, I miss Mary because she would tell me how to do and how to handle the things. So the October sun warmed my back and outlined the contour of my body on the wall. The coffee aroma filled the kitchen as I sipped. Suddenly, an article caught my eye. A student from a neighborhood town had committed suicide from depression. Looking at her picture, she was a beautiful teenager, a talented young musician who played in Carnegie Hall. Her parents were immigrants from South Korea. Because of the privacy law, they did not know their daughter was sick at the college. The school did not inform the family that she was on prescription drugs. It was too late when the parents found out she had burned herself in the dorm and she died.
Mm.
I was terrified by the news. What could I do to protect my child if something happened to her? There was a law preventing me from asking the school if my daughter was healthy or not because she passed her 18th birthday. I never was a believer in the measuring maturity with a number. Kids learn to understand the world little by little. When they first left their childhood home and their parents, there were many challenges in front of them. The age of 18 was just a number. It didn't mean anything to me. I told myself that when this comes to my child's safety, I did not care about the law. The law could get reversed later if it did not work well. The harm of a child could never be undone. So I called my daughter Crystal's college academic advisor before her first midterm. The counselor was a young lady in Crystal's residential college. When I called her on a weekday afternoon, she quickly picked up my call in a charming tone. The counselor assured me everything with my daughter was fine. She said, Crystal is a happy girl. She is doing well in the classes. I have a lot of students to worry about. She is not among them. I feel at ease immediately. I looked at the list of questions I had prepared to ask her. The next topic was varsity fencing. I had tried to talk Crystal into quitting sports because of the Princeton's academic standards. The fencing training took up a lot of her study time. She spent at least 2 hours each day on it, then plus prep and shower time. On the weekend, they had to travel to other Ivy school to do the away game. My daughter refused. Say, Mom, I have to play and have fun. I cannot always study. It was true. Now my daughter is an adult. I had lost my parental power of control.
Mhm.
However, her college counselor assured me again that I shouldn't worry. Crystal was good under her supervision. So I hung up the phone and my heart returned to where it was. With the good news, I could not wait to tell my daughter what the advisor said. To my surprise again, Crystal was upset. Say, Mom, you checked up on me behind my back. It was good that your counselor said you were fine. I got offensive too. I told you because I thought you would be happy to hear that too. You know what? I still will call you at school, but I'm not going to tell you because I paid for it. I guess the paid for shut her up. She didn't say anything at the other end of the telephone line. I never called her school again after that day. Children should let go, but little by little is the better way. That was my view to the privacy law for the kids, 18-year-old. I still have this in my heart. I think the school and the parents, even they are 18-year-old, they should let go little by little. At least have adjustment period if they're sick, like 6 months, maybe after their birthday, the parents should be able to know if they are very sick and the prescription drug, something like this. But anyway, this is another culture shock. The Chinese doesn't have the parents control. My mother would control about me until I get married. But that's the different country.
So, Abby, I'm curious, it's quite a story you told us, and I'd like to hear in a minute from people. We have some attendees who are parents, what they think of what happened to you. How did you how did you end up going to New Jersey? How did that come about? Why New Jersey?
It's because my husband, I came here after 1 year. My husband came first. So he was in NJIT, the Institute of Technology of New Jersey, in the school. So I had to come to Newark, New Jersey to join him. Then it's very easy to settle down, and after he found a job in New York City, so we just settled down in this area.
Okay, thank you. Barbara and Eleanor, I know, if you don't mind my calling you, I know you both have children. I'm just wondering how you reacted to what Abby was telling us about, yeah, what she was and wasn't allowed to do and the culture shock.
I can see it from both both directions. I can see it as a mother. You want to know, and it would really make a difference. On the other hand, having been a child of a mother, I understand how teenagers or older do not want to have their parents involved in their lives. So it's a double-edged coin. And I think, though, that if a child has been on prescription drugs, that the school should have supervision over it. And if it lasts for a while, bring in the parents.
I had an easy time with my children. I really did. I think I brought them up properly. And let's say they went to a party, and I would say to them, come home when it's time to come home. I didn't sit up and wait for them because I think they had enough sense. And today they're kind of old now. And I think I've proved my point, though. I must tell you this. I haven't even told Barbara that. When my older daughter was away in college, I received in the mail all kinds of balloons and funny shapes and stupid sayings. And, you know, I feared the very worst, that she had fallen in with a group of terrible people. It wasn't signed or anything. So when I went to the police, to the fire department, which I have to go when, because I got all kinds of crazy mails, balloons filled up and signs sent to me. And you know what her response was when I finally told her when she came home? She said, "How come you opened my mail?" That was the only thing. She wasn't concerned about anything else, but that's her. And both my children lead wonderful lives, wonderful mothers, wonderful wives. So that's all I can tell you. It's really basically up to the child and what you have taught her at home. You have to let them go, you know.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
that's the only thing I can tell you.
I wouldn't have liked it if my mother opened my mail either, frankly.
But this was all kinds of dolls and crazy
Yeah,
things that came. I
right.
even went to the police and to the fire department. You'd think she'd have been concerned. We finally found out who was a neighbor's son, you know,
Oh,
that was friendly with the mother. So there you go.
okay, thank you.
He was younger
Okay,
than her and he admired her, so he would try to gain attention, not knowing she wasn't home.
that's funny. Okay, Abby, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, I think the children also teaches us how to
Yes.
be a good mother. Yeah, I have an easy child too, and but here and there, those small things always give me like a cultural comparison is more as I immigrate, I feel the comparison is sometimes is powerful, but I always remember those small things, and one day I have time, I write them down. um,
So, Abby, you became a librarian, and can you talk more about that phase, why you became a librarian, what it was like, any issues you've had to deal with, or and continue with your story? That would be great.
yeah, that's always I always love books. Um, as I was a child in elementary school in China, and the library card is not for everybody. It's a privilege for the students who can handle their academic well. So when I was, I think it's the second grade, and my teacher picked up me and gave me a library card, and I was luckily live very close to the best children's library in the country. So I start to love to read books. I read a lot of books until the Cultural Revolution started. The library closed, and they only allowed mouse book to borrow. So that until that time, I read a lot of books, and I always think work in the library is the best job. Um, then
They did the best because you got to be exposed to more books.
Yeah, and when the Cultural Revolution started, the library closed. My neighborhood has a young man. He can, I don't know how to say that. He can steal the books from the library and lend those books to our neighborhood kids. So I always on the list, and he lent me a lot of European books. That's all translated to the Chinese language, so we can read. And I also wrote that part in the memoir. I was reading some French and Russian, English books, and those all opens my mind. But the school is prohibited to read those books. Only mouse book is allowed. So I try to hide this from my parents. So I read really fast, and especially at night when they went to sleep. So I start to read, and I have to be very quickly. So one thing, see, my mother have very strict bedtime for me. So like I forgot it's 9 o'clock. I have to turn off the lights. Then I couldn't sleep in my bed, so I tried to put my ear on the wall and listen to my mother and my aunt conversation. Sometimes they gossip, sometimes they were talking about me. So one day I heard my aunt was telling my mother, say, do you know what kind of book the kids is reading? My mother said, no, I don't. Then my aunt said, she's reading the red and the black, and something about not allowed to read. So I heard of that conversation. So I hide my book more carefully. Don't let them to see it. Otherwise, I will be in trouble. Never get a new book again from that guy.
Mhm.
So all those, yeah. I don't know. I just addicted to read a book. I will put it this way. Just reading make me feel very happy.
That's wonderful.
Then
You have some other pictures, I think, that we can show and talk about.
yeah. This second part is all the pictures I came after United States.
Okay, so Julia, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, this is when my daughter was in no, it's kindergarten. Yeah, before my husband left to his school in New Jersey. Yeah, those sweater, my daughter's sweater was I knit. The time we knit sweaters.
That's very cute. Nice picture.
Thank you. Yeah, was when she moved to New Jersey. The summertime. I live in Kearney, New Jersey at the time. The first town was in Kearney because there is a fast train can go to New York. So that time my husband worked in downtown New York. And the summertime, take her to beach is the happiest things. Yeah, this is she is a fencer in high school. We never had anybody as a fencer in my family, so I know nothing about the fencing. Also, I put the story in the book. She, the first year, the freshman year, and I told my daughter, you need to pick up 3 sports. Then every year you drop one until you apply college, you have the best part. You are good at it, then maybe will help. So she started fencing in the freshman high school, and immediately she become a start. I don't know why this happened, but yeah, she the coach sent her to match immediately, and she came back home saying, "Mom, I don't know how to hold a weapon. My coach want me to go to the match tomorrow. What do I do?" So I didn't know what to do either. I just pretend I know because you're a mother. So I say, if anything is not big deal, then you point to the left side, you pretend you're going to the right side. I just made up the story. I think I had to give confidence. So then little by little, and she's always the best in the state. And until, I think the Princeton coach recruited as well.
Right. Okay.
Okay, this is my first apartment in Kearney, and my aunt took my daughter to United States because I asked what happened was the Tiananmen Square incident. When I remember that was a Sunday morning, I went to grocery shopping and I heard the radio have the recording, dong, dong, dong. That's the gunshot in Tiananmen Square. So I was scared, and if something happened, maybe our family will be separate for a long time. So I asked my aunt and my uncle, who was taking care of Crystal for that year, just send her to the United States. So that my aunt was talking to her sister on the phone. So they were very close, grandmother and granddaughter.
That's nice.
Mhm. Yeah, this is the dorm, the Princeton dorm, the last year. And the first year they have the smallest, the last year as a senior privilege. So they have, everyone has their own room, and they have a living room, and the second floor inside the apartment, the first floor and the second floor. So she was very happy to get something like that spacious. And yeah, the
How does
kids
she- Go ahead, I'm sorry.
all love Princeton. They have so much attached. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's it.
No, I was wondering about, I mean, Princeton was all male for many, many years, a couple of centuries, I think. But so it's interesting that she's happy there. She feels they accept women and things are fine these days.
Yeah, that was in the 60s. I think they
Yeah.
stopped in the 60s. So woman now is when her year was 50% shop, 50% woman and 50% man.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so there's yeah, she has a lot of girlfriends there.
That's nice. Well, I
Yeah.
have to say, compared to my dorm room, she's very neat.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia, that's the last picture we have? No, here's another one. Great.
Yeah, there's another one. This is Vermont, and we went there for family summer vacation. When I moved from Kearney, New Jersey is a blue collar town, and we know a lot of different kind of family, very diversified. But the problem in Kearney is my daughter was bored in the class. In China, they taught math until the multiple table for the second grade, the first year. So when she moved to Kearney, and I went to the parents meeting because I'm afraid from a teacher's family. My mother's teacher, my aunt was English teacher. So a parents meeting is always very emphasized. So I went to my daughter every parents meeting, but usually not many parents attend. But once I heard a father was complaining the math class was so difficult. Then I was thinking my daughter is complaining she has nothing to do in the math class. She knows everything. So I was thinking we have to move to another school district. So from Kearney, I moved to Melbourne. In the same times, there is another story in the book. is about how did I apply for the mortgage. And we never had a mortgage thing in China because everything is government owned. You only rent the house or the apartment from the government agency. So this time I decided to buy a house. I think it's good investment, but the mortgage bank didn't trust us be able to get, pay the money back. So until the last minute, we already purchased in the process of purchase a house in Melbourne. The mortgage company turned us down. Then um, then we had to apply for another bank. Another bank sent a man to our house to talk to us. And when I opened the door and I found that this is one of the professor in my husband's college. He is an economic professor, but he moonlight to do mortgage for the bank. So we had a good talk, and after the chatting, he has confidence we can pay the mortgage back. At the time, my husband worked in New York as a computer software engineer. So from Kearney to Melbourne, that's a big jump. It's a wealthy town, Melbourne, and the house is much more expensive. So in the summertime, everybody send their children to summer camp, stay over, or they take a family vacation to Italy or somewhere. So for me, it's a totally new world and a new culture shock again. So I rent the house like a week in Vermont or in Canada to try to match the lifestyle, not to let my kids feel too left away. So this is, we are in Vermont. We were very happy. We visited the Sound of Music home, and we visited the Vermont Teddy Bear, and we drove to Canada, to Montreal. And I tried to learn the French in Montreal, which my daughter started to teach me because she started to learn French in middle school in Melbourne, which is very good. She gave me a lot of help. So this is about about the pictures.
Nice shot. Okay, well, Julia, we'll let you go. I had a couple of questions, and then, of course, other people, if you want to comment, have questions too. Did you feel along the way? I mean, I'm very impressed that you handled the culture shock, very different cultures as well as you did. Did you encounter discrimination as a Chinese person here in the US? And if you did, what was it like? How did you handle it? Who did it come from? And if you didn't, wonderful. But can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I didn't feel that much as a Chinese person because when the first town I lived, the city was Newark. I had a couple of bad incidents because people steal my wallet, but it was not because I'm Chinese. And when I moved to Kearney, is as I say, it's a blue collar town, and the people didn't look Chinese as the bad and the immigrants or the poor people they should discriminate. I didn't feel that much. Then the last one was in Melbourne, and Melbourne is very emphasize education town. I feel I asked my daughter a couple of times about do you have, and she does not realize there's any discrimination, and she was a good student in school. So I think the Jewish culture also encourage academic excellence. So she was respected in school because she is always top student. I think
Yes.
maybe helped. I don't know why, or maybe we are not sensitive enough.
Don't get more sensitive. One final question for me, and then we'll throw it up and we'll finish. May go a minute or two late. You know, as a librarian, there's a lot going on with books being banned in certain parts of the country, or told that they're really bad, etc. And I'd just like to hear your comments on are there any books that either what you think about those banning, or the books you feel libraries should not allow young people to take out? I mean, just any comments on that issue. It's become a hot topic.
Yeah, I don't think I don't support the book should be banned. Yeah, as I was a child, I read all kind of books. If this book is banned, when I was a teenage, I probably have to find out and read it. If the book is not banned, I may not to read. But if the book is banned, I have to read it. I always do that. And
You're not alone.
I will think about why did this was banned? What's wrong with this book? I will think more about that particular book. It's probably it's me, but yeah, I am more rebel than the most Chinese child, maybe.
I think you make a good point, because it's a great way of bringing books to attention. If I wrote a book, maybe I'd want to have it banned. Any rate, Abby, thank you very, very much, and we appreciate it. And you've had a remarkable history. So I put the title of the book. I can get it from Amazon. If people want book plates, they can write to us. We'll send it to you. So can we all thank Abby for what she's done, what she will be doing, and thank you for joining us today. And
Thank you.
Barbara, and thank you.